In 2016, a 16 years old woke up from a coma, speaking completely a different language. A teenager from Atlanta named Robin suddenly started speaking Spanish, even though he was an English speaker who knew basic Spanish before his accident. Basic Spanish, basic, just basic. After a conjusion during a soccer game, he woke up speaking Spanish almost like a native while struggling with his own language. Over time, his English slowly came back and his Spanish began to fade. Fair enough. But until today, doctors still cannot fully explain what really happened with Robin. And here's the interesting part. It's not the only case. There are multiple stories of people waking up from brain injuries suddenly speaking another language. Good for them. I know how fascinating this topic is to talk about, but something even more interesting opened my eyes. The brain. The brain, my friend, is one of the craziest and most unpredictable things in our lives. The case I just told you about is called Freudian accent syndrome. It's rare and it has many scientific aspects that researchers don't fully understand. But let me explain how our little friend might have done that. A brain injury can lead to what is known as aphasia. It's a speech disorder. This means that the person struggles to access to their native language. Just imagine. So the brain starts to rely on another language stories in the background, somewhere in the background, even though it may be a basic knowledge. When the brain realizes it can communicate using the language it used to, it starts searching and literally experiment with any available tool just to communicate, to the point that can turn a simple, unstable language into something sounds fluent and rich in vocabulary. So from this, we can conclude something very interesting. The brain is actually very capable when it comes to learning languages. But then, why do most people, if not all, struggle so much when learning a new language? There are 6 reasons people think explain why learning a new language is still difficult, even if some of them are actually methods. So, focus with me, my friend. Not everything your brain tells you holding you back is actually holding you back. مفاجأة مش كده? Here are the key points. First, gender. And yes, research in linguistics and social science suggests that gender can have some influence on learning languages and acquisition. But this influence usually related to social skills or learning styles, not to any natural differences in intelligence or abilities. When it comes to children, girls usually start learning language earlier and faster than boys. However, boys usually catch up later during childhood. In terms of learning strategies, some studies suggest that females tend to use different or sometimes more effective strategies when learning a second language. This often includes more social interactions and communication-based approaches. We love gossip. There are also general communication style differences. Women are often seen as more collaborative and socially engaged in conversations. We love gossip. While men may interrupt more or use more assertive speaking styles. Men. Another important factor is social expectations. Society often encourages different behaviors in male and female, and that can affect the way they use and learn language. So, in conclusion, gender might affect how you learn and how fast you start in early stages, but it does not mean that one gender is better than the other at mastering language. In short, your gender had nothing to do with your ability to learn a language. من الآخر كده. Next up, talent. Listen to me. Hear me out, bro. Yes, there's something called language talent, or a high ability to learn language. But it usually describes as a natural tendency or linguistic intelligence, not some magical gift that replaces effort. Research usually says that some people do have a natural advantage. They might be better at understanding grammar, picking up sounds, or learning new vocabulary quickly. That give them a head start. But here's the catch. Learning language is a skill, not a talent. Here's your quote. And skills are built with consistent practice and time. Anyone can improve massively. Also, learning language is linked to mental abilities like memory, analytical thinking, and good listening skills. And yeah, these vary from person to person. So, at the end of the day, talent might make you learn faster, but practice and the right strategies what actually make you fluent. Next one, fear. Research shows that nearly half, around 50% or even more, of language learners experience different levels of anxiety when learning a foreign language, especially in speaking and listening situation in class. Fear and the emotion and anxiety is one of the biggest, most real obstacles in learning a new language. They create what scientists call an affective filter. Basically, a mental barrier blocks you from fully understanding or speaking the language smoothly. This kind of anxiety, known as foreign language anxiety, can literally make your brain freeze and even push you to avoid practicing the language at all. Number 4, your age. Age does affect how you learn a language, but not in the way your brain is trying to convince you. Yes, it's generally easy to sound like a native if you start young, between 10 to 18 years old. But adults, they actually have an advantage when it comes to understanding complex grammar because of their cognitive skills. Let's break it down. Kids have a natural abilities to pick up languages. Their brains are more flexible, so pronunciation and accent come away easier to them. Teenager and adults, on the other hand, are better at understanding grammar rules, learning vocabulary faster, and using smart learning strategies. واخد بالك انت؟ But yeah, they might struggle more with getting a perfect accent like a native. And older adults, contrary to the public belief, they can actually learn new language effectively. In fact, learning a new language is amazing for brain health. It boosts memory, improves focus, increases neuroplasticity, and can even delays symptoms of serious conditions like Alzheimer's disease by about 4.5 years. So at the end, age might change how you learn, but it never decides if you can. Number 5, your environment. Let me take off my glasses for that. Your environment plays a huge plays a huge role in learning a new language. And yeah, it can seriously slow you down if it's not helping you. Let me explain simply. If you don't have a real language environment, like people to practice with or situation where you use the language, learning stays stuck in theory. You are just studying, not leaving the language. And that makes speaking and listening way harder. Also, when your daily life is dominated by your native language or slang, the new language kinda gets pushed aside. You don't feel the need to use it, so your progress slows down without you even noticing. Another big one, judgment. It's very serious, I have to be close. If you are in an environment where people laugh at mistakes or don't accept beginners, you'll start being afraid to speak. That fear of speaking kills your confidence. And once you stop talking, you basically stop learning. So, what's the real point? Your environment can either push you forward or quietly hold you back. However, if your environment isn't helping, You need to create your own one. And finally, learning methods. This one is dangerous. I swear this one is dangerous. The wrong way of learning can literally make you feel like you are the problem when you are not. 1. Anxiety and stress. When you are constantly being corrected or forced to speak perfectly in front of others, it creates a stressful environment that leads to foreign language anxiety. We talked about that before, and makes you afraid to speak at all. 2. I am bored. If you're learning or just memorization, grammar, rules, and no real life context, you're gonna get bored. Congratulations. And once you're bored, your motivation drops بسرعة. 3. Weak speaking and writing skills. If you are only reading and studying language without practicing, you will understand the language, but you will not be able to use it. You'll feel stuck inside your own head. 4. Thinking in your native language. Some methods push you to translate everything instead of thinking in the new language. That slows you down and leads you to awkward mistakes. Frustration and loss of confidence. Imagine putting in effort but not seeing progress just because the method is wrong. That's how people get frustrated and eventually quit. Okay, so now that we have talked about all the reasons that make people feel like learning the language is hard, let me ask you something important. What actually makes a learning language easier? I'm not going to make this complicated. Let's stick to what really works. First thing, constant exposure. The more you hear the language, the more your brain gets used to it. Even if you don't understand everything at first, just being around the language starts building a natural feeling for it. Second, using the language for real. It's not enough to understand it, you need to use it. Even it's wrong sentence, even it's simple, just speak. Because language is not a subject, it's a skill. نبطل نعامل اللغة على إنها فيزياء. Third, making mistakes. People think mistakes are a problem, but actually they are part of the process. Every mistake you make it is a step closer to getting it right. Fourth, repetition. But not just any repetition, smart repetition. Don't just memorize the same thing once and once and once and then forget it. Come back to it in different moments, in different contexts, until it becomes natural. Fifth, linking it to something you love. Connect the language with something you really enjoy. A movie, song, series, a hobby, YouTube videos, anything that makes you enjoy the process. Because when you enjoy something, you don't feel like you are studying. And the last and the most important one, consistency, discipline. مشكلة جيل كامل. It's not about one day of motivation and then stopping for a month, a week, a year. Even 10 minutes every day is way stronger than 3 hours every week. So guys, for me and you, it's all about the right method. So, after everything we talked about, is learning language really that hard? Or did we just understand it the wrong way? The truth is, the problem was never us, was never you, was never me. Not your age, not your talent, not your gender, not even your intelligence. The problem was the picture we were taught about learning. Because learning a language is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. You don't have to be ready to start. You become ready by starting. So next time you feel like you can learn a language or you can learn anything else, just remember this. You are not bad at this. You just haven't learned it your way yet. Just it. Bye.